Hello, I'm Gordon Lang, editor of CameraLabs.com. I'd like to give you a brief video tour around the Olympus E-520. Here it is, the E-520. This is the successor to the enormously popular E-510, which was one of the best-selling digital SLRs of last year. Now, the E-520, like its predecessor and every other Olympus DSLR, is based on the 4/3 standard. That means it will work with any 4/3 compatible lens, and I've got it mounted here with the Olympus Zuiko Digital 14 to 42mm kit lens. This is one of the standard bundles that you'll get with E-520, although if you're after a really portable option that will make this compact body even smaller, then do consider the Olympus 25mm Pancake. We've got a full review of that at CameraLabs.com. So, what's inside the E-520? Well, it's got 10 megapixels, it's got built-in image stabilization, and it also has live view and great anti-dust facilities. Sound familiar? Yep, all of that was present on the earlier E-510. So what's new on the E-520? Well, Olympus has made quite a few changes, and we've got a full rundown of all of those in our review at CameraLabs.com. But right now, here are the highlights. The biggest physical change is an increase in screen size from 2.5 to 2.7 inches, and the E-520 now supports contrast-based autofocusing in live view, and I've got a bigger demonstration of that coming up later on in the video. This contrast-based mode also allows the E-520 to support face detection, and you can see that working right now. It also has slightly faster continuous shooting. The E-520 now shoots at 3.5 frames per second compared to the 3 frames per second of its predecessor, and here's how that sounds. The E-520 has the same built-in image stabilization capabilities as its predecessor. These will work with any lens you attach, but Olympus has added a new mode for the E-520. Now, the earlier E-510 had an option for horizontal panning, where it would disable the horizontal compensation. Now, the E-520 offers an additional mode where it disables the vertical compensation for panning horizontally but with the camera held on its side. The E-520 stabilization is built into the body, which means you won't see the effect through the optical viewfinder, but you can preview it on screen in live view. Now, I've got the kit lens zoomed all the way into 42mm, but you still can't see a great deal of camera shake here yet. But if I magnify this portion in the green rectangle here to check the manual focusing, we can take a closer look at the effect. So I'll press the OK button, and now you can see that area magnified, and you can also see quite a lot of camera shake there. But I can preview the stabilization by pressing and holding the IS button. I'll do that right now. Now there's a slight pause, and you can hear that whirring as the system kicks in, and you'll see it is very effectively stabilized that. If I let go, you can see how wobbly that view is again. Now let's continue this video tour with a look at the E-520's controls. The E-520 has an identical set of controls to its predecessor, although you'll notice blue labelling on the controls that's more easily visible to people with colour blindness. If you're really familiar with the E-510, you'll also notice that the exterior design of this wheel here and the mode dial have also slightly changed, but it's just cosmetic. The operation remains the same. Now I'm going to switch the camera on here, and I want you to keep an eye on that little light there in the upper left corner. As I flick the switch, you'll see the light flash. That indicates the anti-dust system going, and it is still one of the most effective anti-dust systems on the market. To the upper left side of the body, you'll find dedicated buttons for the flash and the drive mode, and if I pop the flash up, you'll see that that pops up to that height there. Now, this pop-up flash will clear smaller lenses like this kit zoom, but if you have a bigger lens like the 12 to 60 attached, you will see a shadow cast. Turning to the back of the camera, you'll see the same controls again as the E-510. You've got dedicated buttons for the white balance, autofocus, sensitivity and metering, and also buttons here for the image stabilization and the live view. The E-520 again can take two different card formats. There's the XD memory here, and it can also take full-size compact flash cards, although sadly you can't record to both at the same time. On the other side of the camera, you'll find the rechargeable battery. Now, this is exactly the same BLM1 lithium-ion pack that's powered almost every Olympus digital SLR to date, apart from those tiny E400 series cameras. The E-520 shows an enormous amount of information on its main screen here, and it also makes it very easy for you to change the settings. First of all, we have dedicated buttons for things like the white balance. If I press the WB button here, you can see we can adjust the white balance setting there. Likewise for the ISO sensitivity. However, the E-520 has a couple of other ways you can adjust settings. If you press the OK button, you'll see we've highlighted the ISO sensitivity, and you can now use the dial at the top to directly adjust that setting. Or alternatively, you can use these arrows to move the yellow highlight around the screen. For example, let's change the drive mode. You can put that back to single shooting, or maybe you want to activate the face detection. As you can see, it's very quick and easy to adjust any number of settings. Now let's take a look at the live view facilities of the E-520. Press this monitor button and they'll start. Now there was a slight noise and delay as the mirror flipped up, but this is a live view. I can prove that by wiggling my fingers in front of the lens. Now, even though you're in live view, you can change the settings in the same way as before. If I press the OK button, we can overlay these here. And I'm just going to change the autofocus mode to manual focus, and you'll see why in just a moment. But first of all, we can overlay an alignment grid. You can see that more clearly if I hold my hand in front of it. Press it once more, you get some shooting information. Once again, you get a live histogram in the bottom left corner. And once more, you get this green rectangle. Now, this is why I switched it to manual focus, because this offers manual focus assistance. And here's how it works. You use the arrow buttons here to move it to an area of interest. This is the bit that you want the camera to focus on. Let's take a closer look at this area here. Then what you do is you press the OK button, and this now magnifies it by 7 times. And if I turn the dial, I can magnify it by 10 times. Now if I just get the manual focusing ring here, you can see that you can very precisely set that focus until you get it absolutely spot on. So you can manually focus very precisely. But that's not all. If I press the info button once more, you get one of the E-520's new features. Here's a series of thumbnail previews that show you the effect of different exposure compensation settings. If I press the arrow button upwards, we can also preview different white balance settings. Now the E-520 offers 3 different auto-focusing modes, and to show you them I'll just have to switch that back from manual focus to autofocus. The first mode is Imager AF. This is the new contrast-based autofocusing option, and to activate it you half press the shutter release button. Now you'll notice there that it managed to autofocus without flipping the mirror or making any noise, and there was also no interruption to the image. It wasn't particularly quick, but it was quite a smooth process. Now this will only work with 3 different lenses. We've got details at cameralabs.com, but what happens if you've got a different lens? Well, it uses a different autofocusing mode, and to show you the difference I'll go into the menu system. Now I'm going to go down to one of the many custom options here and change the live view mode to AF sensor. So let's see the difference. Now to autofocus in this mode you need to press the AEL AFL button, so here goes. Now what happened there was the mirror flipped in order to use the traditional phase change autofocus system, took a reading, flipped back again to continue the live view, so it was noisier, and there was also an interruption, but it was in fact slightly faster. Now Olympus offers an additional mode for other lenses, and I'll show you that now. It's a hybrid option. I'm going to go back to that custom menu and go for Hybrid AF. Now to autofocus in this mode you half press the shutter release button again. Now that took a while. What it's doing there is taking a contrast reading to get quite close, so it will only take a final reading when you actually take the picture. And if you want full details on those 3 autofocus modes, check our full review at cameralabs.com.
The Olympus E-520 is a feature-packed and affordably priced 10-megapixel DSLR, but Olympus hasn't messed too much with the winning formula of its predecessor. Beyond the slightly bigger screen and the blue labelling, most of the new features are internal. And it is nice having the contrast-based autofocusing and face detection, and also the slightly faster continuous shooting. However, it's important to note that the core specifications of the E-520 remain the same as its predecessor. This is a 10-megapixel DSLR with built-in stabilization, live view and anti-dust features. And also the criticisms of its predecessor remain, so the viewfinder is quite small compared to many other DSLRs. The autofocus is a fairly basic 3-point system, and it's also interesting to note that Olympus hasn't taken this opportunity to boost the resolution like a lot of its rivals would. So at this point you've got to ask yourself, how does the E-520 compare to the latest models that are on the market? Well, to find out, head on over to our full review at cameralabs.com. There we've directly compared the image quality of the E-520 against the Canon EOS 450D or Rebel XSI, and also the budget Pentax K200D. So to see how the E-520 measures up against these key models and also other rivals, head on over to our full review. As always, you'll find it at www.cameralabs.com.